All right, joining us again is Kevin O'Leary. Those stimulus checks would not be extended to illegal immigrants. It's been a sticking point, especially for some Democrats. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually think we're at a point now where we have to be careful. We're almost putting too much stimulus into the market and into the economy. You've got to remember there's still $1 trillion from the first package still unspent. So we're really talking about $3.9 trillion that are going into this market, and at a time when the economy is actually quite strong. So the risk here is that you cause inflation when you didn't need to. In terms of the structure and the metrics of the deal, I don't know why we're sending checks to people that are already employed. That makes no sense to me. The deal should be this. If you are displaced by the pandemic, we will send you a check because you're unemployed. I don't want to see any more PPP. I personally feel, having lived through that and watched what happened to it, that 50% of it was wasted. And I have a lot of companies that took it that'll go out of business no matter how many PPPs they get, because consumer preferences have changed and they're never going to come back. That's the nature of the digitized economy. America 2.0 is emerging. So I wouldn't put money into that either. No more bailouts for airlines. We have too many airlines in terms of capacity, because business spending will be down somewhere between 20 and 25% for years to come. Why would you fly somewhere when you can do a Zoom meeting instead? And so that's going to be a very long time before people waste their time and money flying around in business entertainment. I know I've slashed my budgets for 2021 in my private company portfolio from 20 to 50%, and it's going straight to the bottom line. I have zero interest in increasing those costs when I don't need to. So why bail them out? Let a couple of them go bankrupt. Just give unemployment checks to the employees. They're highly trained. They'll find new jobs in the digital economy. And airlines are very good at going bankrupt. They do it every 10 years. So it's just fine. Stop spending money there.
What about the restaurant industry? Leisure and hospitality really struggling here.
The restaurant industry will survive on its own. Restaurants grow like mushrooms as soon as we've got this pandemic under control. So a better way to spend on restaurants would be to spend more money on the logistics of getting the vaccine out. Because I can guarantee you, when people feel safe again, they will go to restaurants. And believe me, they'll pop right out, just like they've always done for 200 years. It's an industry that bounces back very, very quickly. The only two areas I would invest in if I had my druthers would be, even if you kept it at $1.9 billion, just spend it on vaccine logistics, getting it into people's arms, and let's take care of unemployed people. Nothing else. Otherwise, you risk horrific inflation. We just don't need this much stimulus. It's going really overboard.
Well, what about, some of these restaurant owners hearing your words are thinking, you know what, I don't have time is of the essence, and I don't have the time to wait for the vaccine to get here and for people to feel comfortable to come to my restaurant. What do you say to them?
Let's take care of the employees of the restaurants, the waiters, the people that do the work. Let's give them the unemployment checks. I don't want to bail out every owner of every business. Why? That's not how the markets work. I have lots of food services businesses that are going bankrupt right now. And the ones that are going to survive will be the ones that should come back because they're still relevant. Now, if I had a restaurant near or close to a B-grade mall that's being shut down, that's probably not going to work. Or if I'm providing food services to movie theaters, probably not going to work, because consumers' preferences have changed. I think we're going to end up with probably only 500 malls left in America. Look at Amazon's numbers. They grew by over $100 billion in just 90 days in sales. They were actually $125 billion. You think people want to go back to a B-grade mall? I don't think so. They want to order their stuff and have it delivered to their homes. That's my whole concept of investing now, is to figure out where this digital pivot's occurring. I'd like to take care of everybody that works in a restaurant that's unemployed. I do not want to bail out every restaurant owner. I'm sorry.
All right. To your point, if some people get checks here, even though they do have jobs, because the way this is structured right now, they would be getting those checks. If they're amongst the lucky
does that even make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? Why? Why are we doing that?
Right. I mean, that's what they're debating right now in Congress. But if that were to happen.
Well, I hope so. I hope so, because somebody should put up their hand and say, wait a minute, what do we need to give money to in an emerging economy that's coming out of this mess? When people are employed, let's take care of the unemployed people. Let's give the unemployed people more money. They're the ones that are really hurting, not people sitting at home with jobs. That seems ridiculous to me.
you have to wonder even if that money is going to come back into the economy, right? Because maybe people will sit on that money. Maybe people are going to save that money and not inject it and spark the economic recovery. So what would your advice be to somebody who gets that check and maybe doesn't need to pay the rent or the utility bill with it? What should they do with that check?
They should send it back to the government, but they're not going to do that. I mean, that's what's so crazy about this. You know, when you have a blunt instrument like a $1.9 trillion stimulus package, probably 30% of it is completely wasted. I mean, there's no test in terms of whether somebody should get that check or not. We're just sending everybody free money from a helicopter. That's not a great idea. That's not the best way to do this. When you've got tens of millions of people that have no jobs, they're the ones we should be taking care of. And certainly, ask anybody that wants a vaccine right now if they would like to see more money spent on logistics to provide that vaccine. The whole country is waiting to get vaccinated, at least the ones that want the vaccine, and we can't do it. And we're sending checks to people that already have jobs in the meantime. Just seems crazy. It's nonsensical.
Look, what happened last week, some people are saying that is dangerous for the overall market. Do you think that it does highlight some pain points that we need to address?
No, not at all. Anytime there's volatility in the markets, you get an outcry from lots of politicians who are seeking airtime on social media and television. I don't blame them. They're constantly in a mode of raising money, and this is a great issue. The fact is, though, the market has to be a very broad and wide vehicle because for some people, investing means a millisecond, and for others, it means a decade, and we need to accommodate all of them. The best thing we can do and continue to do, and we're getting very good at it as a market, we are the envy of the world, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, is just to continue to shine transparency on positions. And now there's a new risk in the market. If you go short, and obviously under certain circumstances you have to disclose it, you're going to get hunted down by these social media, let's call them vigilantes, whatever you want to call them. It's just a new risk now. And so, being short is very hard because your downside is unlimited. You buy a stock at $100, it goes to zero, you lose $100. You short a stock at 100 and it goes to 1,000. That's just the beginning of your pain. It can keep going up. And so the whole point is market players know that. I think what we learned, though, which I think is really important, is that the assumption that the Reddit crowd and the Robinhood crowd were idiots and didn't know what they were doing and were stupid is incorrect. Read those blogs. These are smart people, and they actually organized together and went after these shorts and caused major pain. I mean major pain. On Wall Street, what matters, if you want to define power, is money. And when you cause $1 billion downside to any institution, you've got power. And now this cohort has power.
Does the issue of shorting a stock, though, need to be addressed, not just for the big hedge funds, not for the small amateur investors, but for everybody across the board?
No. Short's an important aspect to the market. It always has been. Some people call it distasteful or evil. It's irrelevant. I actually like it. When I take a company public and I see a short position build, that's just delayed buying. I'm okay with it. And you have to be able to hedge your position. You might, short Schlumberger and go long Chevron. There's all kinds of strategies with shorting. The fact is that nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw two things emerging. They were on parallel paths, and then all of a sudden they merged. One was the fact that this entity called Robinhood did something extraordinary. And let's talk about that for a second, because for decades we have ignored people that did not have a significant amount of capital to put into either an online brokerage or a money center bank. They don't want those accounts. They're not profitable. And along comes Robinhood and says, I'm going to democratize this. If you have $200 to invest, come on in. We'll help you. Now, why this is important, and I know everybody's trying to vilify the Robinhood platform, but I'm not. I think it's fantastic. We've got 100 million Americans that do not have anything set aside for retirement. And along comes a platform that says, I'll help you learn how to do this. Now, you may not like day trading, but you may think it's bad to learn that way. But the fact is that now we've got 16 million accounts that are learning something about the market. And the real opportunity for Robinhood is to actually take some portion of these day traders and turn them into long-term investors by maybe taking 10% of their winnings and indexing it for the long run and starting to save for themselves for down the road. Because if you put just $400 a month aside and your average salary is just $56,000, you'll have $1.5 million in the bank when you retire, if the market continues to give 6 to 8% a year over the long run, which I think it will. But what happened that was the surprise, at the same time Robinhood was building this extraordinary base of accounts, Reddit and Wall Street Bets was emerging as a powerhouse in communications amongst people that wanted to trading ideas and stock ideas. They merged together. They caused an explosion, atomic in size. And now, who's the new sophisticated investor?
Exactly.
I just think it's really incredible.
You know, of course, Robinhood and a few other brokers, interactive brokers as well, and a couple of others had to restrict trading in some of these heavily shorted stocks. There was a big backlash. Lots of folks said they were going to leave the platform. It didn't really come to fruition, though, because downloads of Robinhood's app actually hit a record high last week amidst all this stuff. If you had your money in Robinhood, if you had an account there, Kevin, would you take it out now because of what happened?
No, I think Robinhood is a brand here to stay, and the envy of every money center bank and every wirehouse and every online broker. No one has ever got 16 million accounts this quickly. I mean, it's extraordinary. They just came out of the blue, and they're doing something very important, and I know everybody and their dog is trying to vilify them, but they've done something very important for America. They're going to be able to sustain over time. They've got an amazing brand, and they are going to start. The opportunity to really add value is to actually take those accounts and start to build other products and services like ETFs and maybe mutual funds and maybe money market funds. So the AUM builds up and you get real investors for 10 or 20% of that 16 million plus growing accounts. I mean, if any of the major banks could have done this, they would have. They're envious. And all of a sudden, in a couple of years, you're going to see Robinhood as a major player competing against them in a way that no one thought was possible. That's what I love about democratization. That's what I love about the internet. That's what I love about social media. Just shine the light of transparency on it and made the best competitors win. That's always been what's great about financial markets. And because we're highly regulated, and I'm a participant in it, I really want transparency. I want the investors to feel that it's not rigged, because it isn't. And the last thing we need is another politician saying, I've got the solution. Hi, I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help you. No thanks. Let the markets be the markets.
All right, listen, you're fired up. I love it.